In what is just yet another example of unelected volunteer moderators having way too much power over organizations. Get this. The volunteer moderators of Framework Computer's Discord server, which has, I don't know, something like 15, 17, something more than that even, 1,000 people who use it regularly for support purposes. These volunteer moderators have gone on hiatus, they say. They're basically going on strike, in group, in mass, all of them, over Framework support of Omarchy Linux and Hyperland, which leftist activists, you will probably remember, have declared have Hitler particles in them. They are Nazi and fascist and all the other bad words and racist and all the other horrible things that you can call somebody or something. The leftists just say that over these software projects and the people behind them regularly. And so all of the moderators of the Framework Discord server just up and bailed. I'm going to read this announcement from Catastrophic. Catastrophic's a user account of one of the Framework employees who oversees some of the things like the Discord server. Quote, I wanted to provide an update to everyone on the status of the Discord server. I have shared Framework's stance in regards to Omarchy and Hyperland over here on the Framework discussion on the Discord server. Considering that, which is basically that Framework Computer is going to support good open source software and isn't worried too much about politics. It's very reasonable. I continue. Considering this, moderators have taken a hiatus, and I totally honor and respect their decision to do so. I'll just stop for a second. While the Framework guy who's responsible for these sorts of things can make declarations about respecting and honoring the decision of these moderators to basically go on strike and throw a hissy fit because someone supported software that is made by people that voted differently than them, I don't respect it. Not at all. This is not a respectful thing that these moderators did. There's nothing respectful about it. I continue. Quote, our Discord server has thrived thanks to the dedication and deep care that our moderators have put into this community. I will be pausing the server so that I can make the necessary changes needed to properly moderate in a way that will not negatively impact community discussions or our moderation team. I want to be clear, this is not me nor Framework censoring your discussions. I encourage you to continue to have these discussions on our forum and Reddit. Thank you for your patience and understanding during this. Okay, so what is happening here is the moderators have gone on strike. They're volunteer moderators, so they can stop whenever they want to. They're not employees. They can stop, but they've gone on strike, and so Framework is shutting down the Discord server. It just locked it, right? He's pausing the server, meaning you can't post anything. Nobody can, right? That's all that you can do is you can go in and you can like click on one of the little emojis to react to something that's already been posted, but that's all you can do, I think. I think you can do that. A lot of people clearly have done that with all sorts of random emojis, including trans flags, as if that meant eight people added the transsexual, transgender, whatever flag emoji to this statement. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. So they posted that up there. Now they've mentioned that people can continue to use their forum. So I went over to the forum, and boy howdy, was I amazed at what is happening over there in the forum. Someone posted 4 days ago. A person with the user account Anarcat, so Anarchy Cat. I mean, how much more on the nose do you need to be? Posted a thread on the official Framework Computer forum entitled "Framework Supporting Far-Right Racists." And he goes on a rant about how framework supporting Omarchy Linux and Hyperland and whatnot means that everybody's racist now, and what a bunch of fascists, blah 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 blah. And what's nuts about this, and I think this really really deserves to be pointed out, is over the last 4 days, roughly, as the time that I took this screenshot, and I'm sure it's way higher now, roughly 1,400 comments have been added to this thread. It is not just pages long. It is over 1,000 pages long. It is the longest forum thread I have seen in a very, very long time, and it continues to balloon out of control. It is wild how big this forum thread on the official frame.work community.frame.work site is. And I wanted to point out a few things, though. I went scrolling through a bunch of it. I did not read it all because, holy heavens, 1,400 comments, and that was as of when did I post this post? That was as of this morning at 8 a.m. and it's some hours after that as I'm recording this. It's probably getting closer to 1,500 by now. But a few thoughts. The first is that I noticed a lot of names repeating themselves. It appeared to be that a significant portion of the posts, of those 1,400 posts, were from a few dozen very prolific accounts, right? People who have a lot of feelings about this, and on both sides, right? People are having arguments and debates, and it's tangential and it's going all over the map, and there's just a lot of discussion going on. I don't know that it's going anywhere. I don't know that it's useful at all, but that's what's happening over there. The second thing I want to point out, and I think this is interesting, and it's worth thinking about. Framework as a company has not closed or deleted this topic, right? Someone made the topic, Framework supporting far-right racists, and they didn't close it. They didn't delete it. In fact, the CEO himself responded to it with something along the lines of, we're not really worried about politics. We're focused on making great software, great hardware, and supporting good open source software, blah, 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 blah. But we value your feedback. Something very bland, but reasonable. Bland, but reasonable. That's the kind of statement he made, which is a perfectly good statement for a CEO to make, right? No criticisms here on that. And what's even more amazing about this is that Framework as a company has allowed it to continue with very, very little moderation whatsoever to either side of the arguments being had, to the, oh, you guys are racist and fascist side, or to the people who are like, man, just leave the politics out of software and stop calling people Nazis, right? To both sides, it's just, they're just kind of letting people talk. It looks like there have been some bits of moderation here and there, but it's minimal. Like you scroll pages and pages and pages before you'll find one comment moderated. And I don't know what all got moderated. I don't have a fancy admin schmadmin account over on the Framework site, so I couldn't tell you what was moderated. But what I can say is that there was very little moderation happening, and some of the messages were pretty extreme. I mean, there was some name calling going on. The words fascism were getting bandied about pretty regularly, but Framework was just letting it happen. I would like to contrast that with some of the other major open source, free hardware, and open hardware organizations out there who literally will permanently ban anyone who just mentions a news story or topic that the moderators of that company or organization don't like, right? The GNOME Foundation famously has an official policy where if you post a story from the Lunduke Journal, you're banned for life, even if you're a long-term project contributor and package maintainer. They've done it to several people now. And it's not just, mentions of the Lunduke Journal, but it's anything like, questioning the over exuberance of Pride Month within the GNOME Foundation, or saying, hey, maybe we don't need to be super political about this or that, or raising concerns about some of the GNOME spokespeople making statements about Jews or Christians or whatnot that are pretty disparaging. But no, the GNOME Foundation is not having having it. If they don't like what you're saying, if you criticize their extreme leftist activism ideology, you get banned for life. Your topics get deleted. You get censored instantly, just instantly. But Framework's not taking that approach. I think that really deserves to be noted here, because the CEO of Framework came out and he made a statement. And I don't have it in front of me. I probably should have, but it basically was this. He came out and made a statement that said, "Hey, you know what? I'm pro immigrant. I'm pro LGBT pride, but I think we should just kind of keep politics, out of the software stuff." And I thought that was fantastic, because clearly, I think politically, the CEO of Framework and I probably are on very different sides of the spectrum in some pretty key ways. I think based on what I've seen of him, and I think probably what he's seen of me, I think the two of us would not vote for the same people, right? But on this issue, I think we're going to come down on the same side of Framework is trying to make great hardware, and they do. They're trying to support great open source and free software, and they are. And they're trying to not discriminate based on political ideologies or what someone may or may not think about a politically charged topic. They're just trying to focus on making great software, supporting great software, getting great hardware out there. And I think for a company focused on shipping open source hardware and whatnot like they do, that is perfect. That is exactly what I love to see. I really don't have anything bad to say about that. And I want to make this very, very clear, because there's a distinction that needs to be made here. A lot of the coverage that you've seen from the Lunduke Journal, I call out what I call to be the extreme leftist activists, right? I talk about extreme leftist activists or leftist extremist activists that have been doing a lot of the discriminating in open source and in free software. And sometimes we call them woke, sometimes we just call them extreme leftists, but there needs to be a true distinction here, because clearly what we have here in the CEO of Framework is someone who is probably politically leftist. It seems that way, right? And I have absolutely no issue with that whatsoever, because he's not discriminating, right? The CEO of Framework is not out there discriminating against people, censoring people just massively across the board, prohibiting viewpoints, attacking people and banning people because they have the wrong political views. He's not doing that, which means we can work together. Which means we can all focus on the things that we all agree on, the things that we all like. Like clearly, me and the CEO of Framework, we love open hardware. We love open source and free software. And we like rad hardware and modular hardware. We clearly like the same stuff. So why couldn't we be able to work together? Why couldn't the CEO of Framework and the creator of Ruby on Rails, DHH, who's getting called a fascist right and left, why couldn't they work together? Well, clearly they can, because they're grown-ups and they put on their big boy pants and they realize that adults can think differently than each other about political things and still A, be colleagues, B, be friends. That is totally a doable thing. And so I would like to encourage all of the leftist extremist activists out there that have been pushing for calling people names like Nazis and fascists and telling people they have Hitler particles in them and attacking people and demanding they be deplatformed and demanding they be censored. And we see this over and over again throughout all of open source. I would suggest that they look at the CEO of Framework as an example of how to handle themselves in a professional and productive way, even amongst people who you may disagree with politically, because we don't need to all agree with each other. I want to put those thoughts out there because it's really, really, really important. The final thought I want to leave all of you with is this. I'm a little bit concerned about the volunteer moderator problem. We've got a real issue going on here, because what we see in the framework Discord server is an entire section of the framework support apparatus, with thousands and thousands of subscribers and people using it in order to get support and to work on framework projects. It's all locked down now, and the reason is because of volunteer moderators. Volunteer moderators and code of conduct committee members are among the most powerful people in any computer-related organization, right? Whether we're talking about video games, open source software, and the like, right? Just across the board. Those positions, code of conduct committee members and volunteer moderators, are unelected almost always. Very, very seldom are they elected. They have little to no oversight whatsoever. They tend to only report to themselves, right? And they cannot be effectively audited, certainly not in a public way, because they say things like, well, if there's a code of conduct complaint, if for the sake of everyone involved, we've got to keep that private. So we have to keep everything real quiet. If there's moderation issues, right, the moderators who are unelected and don't report to anyone, they have to say, well, for the sake of privacy for everyone, we've got to keep what happened here a secret. We're really just protecting the people. We're protecting people, right? And those people who don't report to anyone and have little to no oversight have massive administrative and censorship powers. I mean, massive, massive. They can squash any discussion. They can ban any member and fundamentally change the makeup of an organization. We saw it in NixOS. Unelected moderators have done multiple coups now where they literally forced out the creator of NixOS. Think about that. The guy who founded the entire project was forced out of his own project by unelected moderators that didn't report to anyone. No one wanted him there. They weren't elected there, and the moderators chose the other moderators. So it was a team. It was a tiny little cabal of angry political activists that no one had any oversight over. And this is happening throughout all of the major open source projects, including some of the corporations have this within portions of their community. It's crazy. It's wild. The abuse of these specific roles, these two roles, the Code of Conduct Committee members and the moderators, the unelected moderators, is one of the primary strategies of those extreme leftist activists. We tend to call them woke, but they're the extreme leftist activists within the broader computer industry, right? And realistically beyond as well, but I deal with the computer industry. It's what I know. So that's what we're talking about here. And that is a real problem. And it doesn't really matter what side of the political spectrum you're on. It's a problem for everyone, because those individuals in power turn on everybody eventually, even their own. I've had multiple reports now in the Lunduke Journal where people who thought, well, I didn't see a problem with it. The moderators and the code of conduct teams were just banning fascists, right? Or Nazis, meaning, conservatives or Republicans or Trump voters or centrists or just straight white guys, right? Or Christians or Jews or something, right? Something that group hates, right? They were just banning those people. But I'm a good leftist and I'm a good atheist, leftist, pro-LGBT person, so the moderators won't come after me. They always do. They always find something eventually that you say that's problematic or they don't like you, and they will come after you every single time. And we've seen it over and over and over again within the open source world. I would highly advise any organization that has unelected moderators and code of conduct committees to get rid of them. entirely. I know that's extreme, but there are ways around that. You can have elected moderation teams. You can have moderation teams that report directly to, I don't know, a vice president or a founder that can be just kicked out, spur the moment, right? The president of the company can kick out all the moderators. They have total oversight, and the moderators cannot, affect the executive leadership of an organization. You can just make modifications to how the moderation teams work in order to fix this. And if you can't fix it, it's better to have no moderators at all than to have a team of all-powerful, unelected moderators that you have no oversight over. And the same is true with Code of Conduct Committee members. In fact, I would highly suggest the removal of both Codes of Conduct and Code of Conduct committees entirely until a real reasonable replacement can be found. Because how it's working right now is not working. It is causing so much damage to all of the open source projects, to all of these software communities and software organizations, and even software and hardware companies. And it just needs to go away. It's not helping. I understand that some people may have implemented codes of conduct and created codes of conduct committees with good intentions. But the purpose behind them is political activism. Case in point, the most used code of conduct out there is the Community Manifesto, which was created by a gentleman named Corey MK. Now, Corey MK has decided that he's a lady and has changed his name to Coraline Ada MK. But Corey MK has said flat out and made it very, very clear that his purpose in the creation of that code of conduct, which he's pushed everywhere, is to root out people who are not sufficiently pro-trans in organizations and to advocate for the destruction of meritocracy. He even wrote a manifesto called the Anti-Meritocracy Manifesto, where he outlines how to accomplish the destruction of meritocracy, meaning help people do good work, and just do good things. And then the cream rises to the top, meritocracy. And so he's been advocating for destruction of meritocracy, and the Creator Covenant Code of Conduct is a core piece of that war against meritocracy. So get rid of it now. Replace it with something later if you want, some other way of moderating your organization and your forums and whatever. But get rid of those codes of conduct and those codes of conduct committee and those unelected, no oversight moderators. Get rid of them now. They will destroy your organizations, just like they have so many others already that we've reported on time and time again. Thank you to the Lunduke Journal subscribers for allowing this coverage to be possible. You are truly fantastic. I could not do this without you. Go to lunduke.com and you can watch and listen to all the shows and interact with the Lunduke Journal, all for free. It's all up there. I'm everywhere. I'm all over the inner tubes, baby. And of course, you can also pay to become a subscriber with some pretty cool perks. Downloadable MP4s. If you grab a subscription, monthly, yearly, lifetime, whatever, you get full access to download all of the shows that I produced, not just this year, but last year. I mean, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of stories, just covering the full gamut of open source software, big tech, the works. It's all up there. You get all of it, DRM free, big tech free, commercial and ad free. It's phenomenal. So thank you to all of the subscribers for making it possible. Lunduke.com. And with that, you love that domain name. It's fantastic. Lunduke.com. Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, masters and slaves across the inner tubes, I do declare. End broadcast.